for letting me share your lunch. The topic that I'm going to share on is not intended to add indigestion. It's intended to take it away, okay? Delegating work, giving work away to other people. So I can start off with this. A strange thing happened on my way here today. The last in-person event that I did was almost that one in Canmore just before 2020. And you know what? Something happened. People disappeared. 3.4 million people went home to work. Zoom, Teams became our best buddies. Yeah. Not really, but they're our best buddies. There's questions about productivity. Some organizations are seeing more, some organizations are seeing less. There's doubts around that and debates. There's questions about, obviously, physical and psychological safety for employees. There are questions about innovation. Really, innovation. Can we be working remotely and still be as innovative as we had been in the past? Much has changed. Also, the concept of isolation, working alone, away from other people. And that's led to the new generation, which I suspect, well, maybe all of you have finished putting on the smiling faces on your own personal avatar. So as augmented reality is there and we can work with each other in that particular direction before somebody else makes an avatar for us. I'm curious to know what my avatar would look like if somebody made it for me. Might be not that appealing. A couple of years ago, for me, from a personal perspective, about half of our business disappeared. Okay? Half of it was presentations like this, working with lots of corporate teams, retreats, planning sessions like this one in Canmore. And so we needed to rejig, as many of you have, look at different options for serving our clients, creating new clients, new products lines. And we actually did do some changes. We made a focus on coaching and executive coaching. That is all transitioned to remote and carries on. And then created a new company, and I'll mention that in just a couple of minutes. But in all of this, sharing work, which I spend a lot of time in coaching and working with organizations, is critical. And that's why we're going to talk today about the art and science of delegation. That's today's topic. So today, a little bit about our company, a shameless plug, I guess. We're a connection of consultants, coaches in Western Canada, a couple in Eastern Canada as well. We have regional associates. We work with a lot of different types of organizations, many in the professional services area. Lots of different areas that we focus on, but it's mainly leadership, supporting leaderships and doing their jobs, empowering leaders, their teams, and the cultures. And that's our company. We have a lot of experience and have seen a lot of struggles, a lot of opportunities, and it's been a wonderful journey. A lot of the work we've done is in mergers and divestitures, supporting organizations actually build new cultures as organizations come together. Now, and this is our newest company we created just around the start of COVID. It's to support virtual leadership and ensuring that it's working well. Communication is happening, the cultures are there. We actually have monthly calls on this where we introduce leaders that have great experiences in that, the Virtual Leadership Network and Virtual Leadership Matters. Okay. These are some of the clients that we have served over the years, some global, some local, some regional, some family businesses, a lot in the area of professional services, engineers, and accountants and lawyers, lots in that particular area, and most recently in the high-tech area. The work that we do is mainly not to support people in their technical or professional skills. As people become really terrific masters in their own trade from a professional individual perspective, and then get asked to lead, become a supervisor or a manager, things change. All of a sudden, process skills, change management, running meetings, performance management, delegation become skills that are important for people to capture. As well as if people aspire or have the capability of moving to senior leadership positions, ownership positions, they really need to ensure their interpersonal and personal skills navigate forward as well. The work we do is typically in the area of process and personal skills to support people when all of a sudden they've got a large team and they have to talk about culture, which may seem like a very nebulous thing, but they have to talk about it in a very inspirational way that's granular and people understand it and get it. That's the type of work that we do. What we are going to talk about is management and leadership. And there's a wonderful book connected to Gallup, and I suspect you've all heard of Gallup many, many times. They've been around decades, probably the foremost researcher in the world. They have some great ideas about leadership and what works and what doesn't. And they found, according to them, in this text, First Break All the Rules, the 4 activities that people must do. They must select people to do the work, get the right people, set the expectations clearly for that work, ensure that people are in a motivating environment. Most people are motivated one way or another. It's hard to motivate them, but you can set the environment well for that motivation to take root and turn into engagement. We're going to talk about that the next time we meet. Power and motivation, creating the right environment to work with individuals. And then developing people. You don't always get people at fully competent levels for the rules, and you need to work with people and support them in that. So those are areas we will talk about. Generally, Gallup finds, and you've heard of probably the Strength Finder assessment, and many of you know what your strengths are. It is really important to find out what people's strengths are and focus on those strengths. Weaknesses are important to know, particularly if they're debilitating, but it's great to find out where strengths are. Those you can get the most immediate reaction. Goal today is that delegation become one of your superpowers and one of your strengths after our conversation today. Okay? You're in the right spot? I think I am. Okay. Delegation, the art of getting things through and done other people. How do we get things done through other people? Any comments? How do you get things done to other people?
Pay them.
Pay them. Okay. Money as a motivator, rewards, absolutely. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. That's an important one. Okay. Other things.
Use them into their own self-interest.
Yes, find out what their self-interests are and line them up with that. Absolutely. That creates desire and will. Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to do that when we're all isolated. That's one of the key tricks in working remotely is to identify people's will to do the work. Okay. Other things?
Use your authority, like as a parent-child relationship.
Absolutely. Authority is one of the powers. And next time we're going to talk about the 7 powers, okay? And authority is one. It works. However, it can get old in a hurry.
Or else not as great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay, thank you. Now, so what we're going to talk about is delegation today and talk about steps. Or you have some homework you're going to do after this as well. At the end of today, you will receive in your email a package. It's got a couple of papers, one that I wrote myself, one I think is a Harvard Business School or McKinsey. And the third one is a template to actually plan and prepare a delegation. And I would say I probably spend a third of my time working with leaders, ensuring that they are delegating really well. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Then we'll get into power and motivation and how that manifests in terms of team or an organization and the culture. Talk a bit about developing people also, how you support people. Third session we're going to do down the road, a couple months down the road, is about decision making and planning. So that's the intent behind the series of sessions. All right. Okay. So now the jobs of a good supervisor or manager. What are the roles? What are they responsible for? Well, getting others to do the work from a people perspective. And there are 2 main areas of interaction, being what needs to get done, the outcomes, and then how to do a process or activity to follow up to ensure that the outcomes are done. In the virtual world, outcomes are really important. We can't observe and inspect everything that's going on. Authority is less effective in that particular kind of environment. So, but generally, focusing on those 2 things are important in delegation. Okay. Now, there are 4 factors within this that great managers need to be aware of to ensure that those 2 areas are in focus. Key factor number 1 is will. People have the interest, the desire, the passion to do the work. They have the skills, they have the competencies, they know how to do it. They have the knowledge, the book knowledge to be able to do the work, the technical knowledge, and they have the innate abilities, meaning their personality style lines up well with the work. People, about 90% of what we do is innate. We do it from our subconscious. We don't know it. Our conscious mind addresses about 10% of what we do. We need to understand what our innate behaviors are because we're predisposed for different types of communication, tolerance for conflict, and a whole bunch of other things. It's really nice to know that if individuals will line up for the job. So they have the character or passion for the work, and they have the competence that's necessary to do the work. We're going to talk about selecting people in just a couple moments, and I'll show you a couple of charts on how to do that. So the decisions in delegation start off with what can actually be delegated. What can you give away? If you don't have anybody in your team, you're not doing a whole lot of delegating, I suspect. Do we have some people here with large teams? Show of hands with large teams.
What's a large team?
Oh, more than 4 or 5. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So you got a team, you got people that you're working with, and you can give work to them or share work. Yeah, okay. All right. Who to delegate to, what you need to do, and how you need to do it to achieve the effective handoff. The handoff is so critical. It really literally mitigates risk. If you make the handoff work well, then you're not going to have to follow up and deal with a lot of the productivity issues and maybe even personal tragedies that go along with wondering about the delegation and what are they thinking about, why did they do that, etc. Why didn't they give me any resources? So what can be delegated? Generally, technical accountabilities can be delegated. Everything that is technical, unless you have to sign off on it. You are a lawyer, you're an accountant, you need to sign off to comply to GAAP. You are an engineer, you're an architect, you got to sign blueprints. If that isn't required in the process, it's a great idea to think about giving that technical capability away. AI, brings in so many opportunities for organizations, just so many opportunities. If it's technical, you can and probably should give it away. If it's people accountabilities, then if you have delegated someone to lead a team, then they lead the team. You don't go around them. Obviously, in flatter working environments where there's a lot of collaboration, you need to, just practically you need to. But if somebody is responsible to lead other people, you let them lead. They're responsible for the performance management. They're responsible for scheduling and all of that. You want to make sure your leaders know that they have your authority to lead. Barriers to delegation. What stops you from delegating? Trusting other people and their level of, can they do it? Awesome, big one. Others?
Urgency of the work.
Pardon me?
Urgency of the work.
Urgency, got to be done now. Urgent and hopefully important, not urgent and unimportant, right? Yeah. That happens sometimes too. Great answer. Others?
Arrogance.
Sorry?
Always.
Sorry?
Sorry, I think I was saying the same thing. I was just saying arrogance, if you think you can do it better, so you should just do it.
Pride or ego? Pride or ego, absolutely. Sometimes turf. Smart.
You feel it'll take longer to do the delegation handoff than it would to just do it yourself.
Yeah. And isn't that a trap?
Yeah.
Isn't that a trap? Yeah. Okay. It's things that I've experienced in delegation. And as I said, in my experience, it's probably the area I've spent the most time in ensuring people are delegating, and I don't see a lot of good delegation. You saw the names of those organizations earlier. Most of them don't do it very well. Okay. I would hate to put your name on there and say that your organization doesn't do it very well, but generally delegation is an area, there's a lot to learn from it, a lot to gain from focusing on it. Okay. So the process literally was, what can you delegate? Who, what do you need to do, and how do you do the delegation? And I should say, going back to barriers, some of those things that I've run into regularly, personal experience, ego, trust, turfs, fear of inadequacy. If you give it away, some people will think I'm not doing my job. And role clarity. Some people really don't understand when they're put into a leadership role of some sort. Their job is to leverage themselves. It's to make more of them, help people be as successful as they are around them so that they will step up and do the work. It's not just them. It's not a sole proprietorship. It's more. And so people don't really get the clarity in that. Now, we're going to talk about who to delegate to. I've got a couple of interesting models to share with you. They're in the handout. If you've got a copy of that, you'll see the schematics there, or you can have a look at it a little later. I do like situational leadership. Ken Blanchard's work, it's quite dated, but it's been around a while, but it's really important. You find people in different levels. First of all, they are not competent or unwilling or insecure. Level 2, they're not competent but willing or confident. Level 3, competent but unwilling or insecure. And the last one, competent, willing, and confident. So they're there. They've got everything. Leadership styles shape and bend based upon where your team are in all of these areas. And delegation would depend, literally it depends on the employees ready to do the work. It's very dependent upon that. There's another way of looking at it, and I kind of like this way because I do a lot of work in personal leadership effectiveness and coaching in teams. You look at what's being done, what you want, and think about the capabilities that are required for it. So the skills and knowledge, the can do the work, and how that translates into fit and alignment, will, innate behaviors, etc., passion. And that's the character or behavior of an individual. You get all of those things lined up really well, then you're likely to have the right person to do the work. They'll be able to lead themselves well and do their role. Another look at this is can do versus will do. And you'll see people in all different areas when you're looking at that. You see people that, they can do and they will do. It's ideal. That's where your high performers are. You don't need to talk to them very much, and delegation might be very, very easy to do. There will be that can't do, but will do. They need some help. They're willing, but they're not quite equipped with the skills to do the work. So you need to help them out a little bit. Then there are those that can't do, but won't do. For whatever reason, there's something holding them back. They may have the competencies to do the work, but they're not performing as desired. And then can't do, won't do. And that's a whole different category when you have people that don't fit in there. Typically, the can do, will do, you motivate them. You create the motivating environment. Let them know they're supported. Let them know what resources they have available. Let them know what the goals are so they can go out and achieve them. Those that can't do but will do, well, those you train them. You give them the skills so that they can do the work. Those that won't do that can, there's probably an obstacle in the way that needs to be set aside, and find out what that is by coaching them or counseling them. And the last quadrant is really where you might need to intervene. An intervention may end up being helping them find another place for them to be successful. I don't know, but that could well be it, and sometimes is. Okay, so you need to look at your people and understand your role is different based upon what they can do and are willing to do. Many of you have the handouts, so we'll work with those. Now, in these the quadrant you saw a few minutes ago, what people can do, will do, will not, lines up really well with Gallup's work. They suggest that in any organization, about 3 out of 10 people are fully engaged, can do, will do. 5 people in an organization or team are going to do exactly what they are told to do. Probably nothing more. And 2 people are saboteurs. They don't want to be in the organization. They don't want to be there. That's the general average. Those are global stats, American stats, Canadian stats. They even look at churches and things like that. They look at those types of institutions and see that's what the stats are. Your role is to obviously motivate or ensure that those that can perform, can do, and will do or have what they need, and then work on those that can be more fully engaged and more productive. That's where you need to spend your time as leader. Okay, let's see where we are. Okay, so when looking at delegation, these are the 4 core activities. Select people, set expectations, create a motivating environment, and develop people. We're going to talk about a model to do this, and developing people, setting expectations has an acrostic, a model we use called context, clarity, and conditions. Those are the 3 aspects of it, and we're going to talk about them in a minute. And then creating a motivating environment, developing people is all about commitment. Stimulating commitment within the team that you're leading and sharing the work. Now, I also want to note that when you're looking at delegation, it's not just delegating down, it is delegating up, it is delegating sideways. It is downstream, upstream delegation. And the benefactor for those that get all the delegating done too, and I don't know how many there are in the room, maybe there are some, but is making sure that the process is followed well. So it works really good. That's vitally important in this whole process. So that's another takeaway from today's work. Now, so setting expectations, context, clarity, and conditions. That's what is vitally important. Now, when you receive your handout later today, the materials, you are going to be asked, you're going to get a template that has all of these C's on there. Clarity, context, commitment. And you are going to be asked to think about something, or be asking yourself to think about something you can or should delegate, something you need to give away. It could be a new person in a job, you're delegating their role. It might be a specific project. It might be putting together an event like today, something like that, something you want to delegate. And work with it. Use it as a learning tool. The template is there not to methodically go through it all the time, but to develop some type of routine that can be, in a healthy way, habitual, so that it becomes very natural and subconscious. You're just continually going through those things, whether you're delegating or receiving delegation back, okay? Or receiving delegations. That's the activity. And you're the benefactor of it, so you do it at your own discretion, right? Now, so these are the 3 parts of setting expectations: context, clarity, and condition. And we're going to get into context first. And it's really important when you are providing context around the role as to why people, or what's the reason for doing the job? What's the reason behind it? And some of you might have read Daniel Pink. He's talked a lot about motivation and others, but he talks about some of the research he's done, and he says that there are 2 key reasons why people work. One is that their job is important. There's purpose behind it. And the last couple of years, having purpose has been absolutely vital, and finding a way that it's lined up with the work we do as we step through personal safety and other challenges to make sure we're doing the work. It's absolutely vital. So purpose is critical. And to get to other motivating factors, the second one is people know if they're making progress. They know if they're moving forward, or if they're not, they at least know so that they can start moving forward. There's a fundamental of providing feedback to people that often is missed as well, okay? Feedback. Money is always in there. It's always in the top 10, but it's not necessarily always 1 or 2. It's always in the top 10, and it has to be at a healthy level. So you want to explain why, the reason behind the task or the assignment. Then, how it fits into the bigger picture. Why is this task important? What does it mean to you? I know I can go back 15 years. I was a startup CEO for a corporate banking company, and we had a bit of a portfolio seeded, but most of it we needed to earn ourselves. We had to win it, and RFP processes were vital. So we had a small team of really expert bankers from the banking industry and focused on corporate banking. We were all together working, putting out proposals. And we had a small team of EAs supporting us in making sure that all the documentation for these proposals was really done well. It was bulletproof. There were no challenges with the diction and typos. And when they understood that their particular input was going to be influential in terms of the outcome of the organization, they really they appreciated their work. Let them know how important their work is. Okay. The next piece is to make sure that the person knows why they were chosen for that job. Why did they get it? Did somebody get up? Did Dave get up and have a bad day, so he gave me the job?
Yeah.
Or what's going on behind it? And if they know, then they are much more likely to be very interested in doing the work and doing it. I've worked with a number of firms where partnership groups, they assign the junior partners to do things that they don't want to do. It doesn't line up with their work. And they're really frustrated. Why do I have to do community relations? Or why do I have to do this or that? Well, they're being grown. They're being challenged. And sometimes they don't even know that. You just think somebody had a bad day and gave them the job. When you let people know why they've been given the job, that will be very helpful to them. Okay. And my remote is not working, so I'm just going to carry on anyways. So the next part of this is clarity. Let's see. Okay, there we are. Awesome. Okay, clarity, quantity. These are the metrics. How much work needs to be done? What is it? How much? How well does it need to be done? Timelines. When does it need to be done or completed? Make sure that's very, very clear. And things like resources. What's available to you? How much budget? Teams that will work along with you. What data do you have? What research is available to do the work? You have to make sure that is all very clear. When answers aren't given to these areas, these questions, people will have more questions and just come back, and it slows the process down. And frankly, people start to wonder about the delegator, why they didn't give them the information in the first place. And the area of doubt creeps in, and relationship doubt is probably the most nefarious things that happens when delegation doesn't go well. People really wonder about why their supervisor is not doing it right. Is there something in that? In the virtual world, in the remote working world, that can be even more difficult. And when you're not seeing each other regularly, that can lead to big challenges. Okay. Now, conditions. Process requirements. Okay, when it comes to process, who needs to be involved? Does audit need to be involved? Like different departments that might need to be involved in the process. Does it need this kind of approval? Does Q&A need to have a look at something or other? Who needs to be part of this before it's completed? Then thinking about the decision making that people have. How much time? How much late can they be, or how much money can they spend? What amount of scope creep is permissible in this particular project? And the last one in conditions is monitoring and reporting. And this could be the easiest one, but without this one can be one of the more damaging factors. If we were to say we've got a 1 month project, and as you're asking someone to do the work and you're delegating, if you were to say, you know what would really work well for me is every Thursday, if we had coffee mid-afternoon, you told me how it's going, that would be great for me. What would work for you? And if they said, that would be good, but it takes too long, why don't I send you an email on Thursday with a bullet point update of how the progress is, and then we'll just exchange and see that it's okay. If that works for you, it works for them, do it. Lock it in. Don't do more. Don't do less. If you do more, people wonder, do they have a job? Why are they asking? Why are they coming around to inspect here? Or if you don't do anything, the reason behind the why, the significance, the meaningfulness of this role starts to deteriorate. So you want to set this up in advance, and it's really not hard. Okay? Save yourself a lot of time in that area. So what your assignment is to think about delegation, your homework, if it will be. You'll get a template that shows you all of these steps, and you can think through it or jot through it and think of the delegation that will be important to you and the steps that you would take. You'll find it very effective. Taking it out of your subconscious, focusing on it for a few minutes, it's night and day. It really adds a lot of necessary clarity. It saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of relationship currency you have with people if you do it well the first time, and it leads to their success and your success. Okay. So think about an assignment, who you're going to delegate to, who's capable of doing it. Identify who it is using the templates that we talked about. Can do, will do, and then think about the context, the conditions, the clarity and the conditions. Okay. Questions about your assignment? When I coach and do sessions, there's always assignments. Always. Okay. All right. Delegate or drown. One of the articles you're going to get is this one. I wrote it a year or so ago. It's all about delegation. The experiences I was running into with people not giving things away for whatever reason. This shares some of those stories. You need to do it. You need to do it well. It's important for your success and the success of your team around you. Okay. Delegate or drown. Okay.